In this video, I will take you through step by step on how General Grievous went from this to this. I started by applying Games Workshop black primer to the whole model. I then used a grey primer, also from Games Workshop, to highlight the brightest parts of the model. Of course, this goes without saying, but make sure if you're priming your models in a well ventilated room, otherwise you may end up with General Grievous' cough. I then used a wet palette to mix up base colour, which was close as I could get it to General Grievous' body armour, which I then applied to the model. After the base coat had dried, I thought the colour was slightly yellow, so I applied a second coat in which I added a bit more white. This helped it because it gave the model a lot more contrast and more depth. I then moved on to the rest of the body, well, the machine parts. For this I used black leading contrast paint. I applied one coat to all the areas that needed it. I'm a big fan of Games Workshop contrast paints. I find it gives the model a smooth finish and great coverage without needing too much paint. It also takes half the time. The next step was to move on to the inside of the cloak. I went for a base coat of pure red to make sure it would stand out after I darken it down later on to give it a battle damaged look. Now, this is where the fun begins, as I moved on to the eyes. I started with a base of dark red, followed by a light pink to replicate the eyelids. I then painted the white of the eye, followed by the colour of the iris, which in this case was yellow, and then finished with a small amount of black to give the eye more of an eye look. Then, with all the base colours complete, it was time to move on to the battle damaged look. This process was probably the longest part of painting the model, because it's done in a few steps. I started with a grey to outline the burn marks that would have been caused because of the blaster fire, or maybe pieces of debris that may have been caused during battle. The second step is to apply a dark brown over most of the first layer, but not all of it, just to give the model a bit more depth. Then this is followed by a pure black to make the burn look more realistic. I wanted General Grievous to look like he was in the middle of the Battle of the Clone Wars, so I added a bright orange mix with a bit of yellow and red to the burn marks to imply he had recently been shot in those areas, which, to be honest, I thought turned out okay. And my reference photo for this is actually from Star Wars Battlefront 2, which was a skin you could buy in the game. So please comment below your favourite General Grievous quotes from either the game, movies, or the Clone Wars television series. I'd love to read them. I moved on to the back of the cloak, which I dry brushed black to darken the look. I also done the same thing to the entire model, as I thought it looked a little bit bright. I also thought it'd be cool to make the cloak look like it had seen some action, by creating some burn marks and damage like I had done to the body armour. After a few coats of orange, I added a black mark to imply the fire was burning outwards on the cloak. Finally, I painted the lightsaber hilts and the blade of the lightsaber, which I painted a bright white. I dry brushed the colour of the lightsaber because I tried to keep the brightness of the blade to imply it was glowing, which I thought went okay, but I still think I can improve on this. Once I was happy, I put down the brush and walked away. I really enjoyed painting this mini, but it's actually part of a bigger picture, which is a Clone Wars diorama. This video will be coming soon on the channel, and if you're watching in the future, go check it out. If you liked, laughed, or learned something on this video, please consider subscribing or pressing that like button, and I'll see you in the next one.